Alright, David Harry here, and in this, A Coffee with David, I'm going to be asking the question, if you've already got a GoPro Hero8 Black and you're thinking about upgrading to the GoPro 9 Black, is that just going to be a complete waste of your money? Alright, so what I'm going to do in this vlog is just kind of go through some stuff initially that I've noticed immediately between the 8 and the 9. Now, if you're somebody who's never seen any of my videos before, and if indeed you're looking for a quick fix and a quick hit, as in like tons of nice pictures and like 30 years of experience condensed down to 2 minutes, let me do you a favour. You're probably best off now, because this video won't be for you. However, if you go by the name John and your YouTube handle is Lensman Online, or if indeed you just don't mind listening to some fat old tosser talking bollocks about various things, this video could just be for you. Alright, so just being serious for a second then. What it is, this video definitely won't have pictures in and stuff like that. I'm not going to do cutaways to things that I've noticed so far. This literally is something that I need to do fairly quickly. Only because, and this really has been kind of like inspired by you again, John. What it is, John, if anyone doesn't know, is Lensman2 online. There'll be a link to his channel here. Also, there'll be another link as well to his game channel. Check that out. He's just recently did a Call of Duty video as well, and I didn't even comment on it just yet. Sorry about that, John, and I didn't watch it all either, but I was very shocked to see you playing one of them first-person shooters. Well, when I say shocked, I was dead made up. I've got to go back and watch it properly. Anyways, I digress like I always do. Anyway, so what it is, John had made the comment in one of my videos about, you know, whether or not he was going to be like a little bit put out and perturbed maybe by the fact that he'd bought the 8 when literally maybe just around the corner the 9 was going to come out. Well, but this really is for you, by the way, John, but for anybody else who kind of, you know, picks up on this, who's thinking the same thing, you know, should you have waited for the 9, or if indeed should you upgrade from the 8, then yeah, just have a listen to this video, just skim through it if I start talking too much. But the basic premise of this video is to basically say to people, all right, here's the bottom line, no, don't upgrade. And when I say that, I'm coming at it from the vlogger's angle, really. Mostly vloggers, or just casual users who like to, say, film family events or holidays and stuff like that. However, if you're, say, into action stuff, I really can't say, because there may well be certain stuff in there which is worth that difference, you know, for like, you know, your proper full-on action people. But like I say, for the vloggy stuff and day-to-day stuff, I've got to say immediately, I wouldn't get bent out of shape wanting to upgrade to the 9. So let me just find somewhere to sit off with me coffee. Probably, like I say, that usual bench that I go to. Anyways, yeah, I'll do that, and I'll just get into a few things, and hopefully it'll, well, hopefully help people. Okay, so sat down now with me coffee and stuff, so let me just get into a few things here. I'll try not to make this too long and overdrawn, because these are just initial things that I've seen, and of course I will kind of like start showing videos further down the line. Right, first thing, which for me is a disappointment, although, you know, I was not going to be that surprised that it was the same anyway, and that's GoPro Color. So if you're not a fan of GoPro Color like I'm not, you won't be a fan of the Hero9 in GoPro Color. Simple as. It does the exact same things as the Hero8 does. Now, some people might turn around and go, well, that shouldn't be a surprise. And yeah, you're right, it shouldn't be. But I think with all the moaning that's gone to date up to the 8, and that moaning started with the 5, I would have thought that by now, you know, if GoPro were going to, they may have give us, the end user, the option of another different Rec 709 standard profile, because don't forget, GoPro Color is just their take on Rec 709. So whatever they're using for their color response and gamma response has to fit within Rec 709. So that's what GoPro are telling us is their version of Rec 709. Now the thing with that, yes, you shouldn't be so surprised that it's going to be the same, but like I was saying there, right now I think if GoPro were going to be nice to us, they would have given us at least one, a slightly less toned down option for that GoPro Color, or two, maybe even some way of making some basic adjustments ourselves in the camera and save it as our own preset for like gamma and color response and stuff like that. And with that, you don't have to be like, you know, a rocket scientist to be able to make 2 slight alterations in camera. I'd understand why GoPro don't want to open that stuff up, because most people haven't got a frigging clue what any of that stuff is, but just 2 simple sliders maybe could have done that. So basically right now, all I can assume from that is, now that we're on the 9 and they've stuck to the guns with what they believe we should be filming, it's not going to change, it's not going to happen. So yes, no great surprise, although I had a little wish there that, yeah, maybe that was going to be different. And then getting to, let's see, flat mode as well. And flat mode is something that I kind of like, I use, but reluctantly, because from my opinion, when you're doing simple vlogging like this, or basically any type of vlogging, my opinion is that you should be able to get a great picture in the camera, get in, chop it up a bit, or indeed just straight upload if that's what you want to do. But you know, you should be able to just do something really simple and get that great picture up to wherever it's going to go, whether that be YouTube or whether that's on a file to give to a friend or an email or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, that should be the most simplest process. Now obviously going into flat mode, that isn't, because you have to mess about and tool around in post-production with that. This is something that I've had to learn to do with the Hero 8. I do it reluctantly, but I appreciate that for me to get the best out of what I need, I have to do it that way. And it most certainly isn't a grade that I do or some kind of colorization. And indeed, and I've mentioned this before and I still have to do the video about it, about my gripe with all those tools on YouTube who give you like, oh yeah, I'm a colorist or a grader. They are very, very specialized jobs where very, very professional people who've spent a lot of long times in studios learning their trade are good at. The likes of me and all these other tossers on YouTube who go on about color grading, LUTs, blah blah, most of them haven't got a friggin' clue what they're talking about. Anyways, let me not digress with that one again. So yeah, with that flat thing, I think to get the best out of both of these cameras, it's going to have to be the same. Now here's the thing, I went and shot some stuff with the 9 yesterday, which are essentially the same settings. I won't get into it now because I don't want to again go right off track, but basically the same settings that I would use for locking off certain things and then going essentially auto for the best part, but in flat. Now when I got in and I tested it up against some stuff that I'd already done with the 8 in the park here with similar light, it wouldn't translate immediately, and to be honest, I couldn't get it to match either after a bit of messing around. Again, I'm not a specialist with this stuff, but I would imagine, you know, the vast majority of people aren't. So as to whether or not you're going to be able to color match immediately without any hassles, I doubt it. But also the flat mode felt a little bit different as well on the 9. Again, you know, maybe you might have expected that that could be the case if there was an improvement to be had in doing it. But for me, you know, any of these shooting in these weird log gammas, especially in 8-bit, they're basically next to useless. You know, technically it's a pretty stupid thing to do, although we are forced into doing it because of the GoPro color scheme. Anyway, next point. Now that extra 5K resolution in the 9, again, straight away, I've got to say, I don't know if I'm noticing it. I mean, I will use it because I would want to record at the highest resolution. Whether that's just to be straight out at that resolution or whether it's because I want to manipulate it in a lower resolution timeline and reframe stuff, I would always want to shoot at the highest resolution on any camera. Now, I'm not really seeing that much of a difference in it, to be honest. Granted, I'm only watching it on a 4K screen. I'm not on, you know, a higher resolution than 4K. But all the same, I should be able to see something straight off. But that may even tie in with the fact that I think the picture is not quite as sharp, or maybe just slightly softer than the 8. So that would tie in for me not seeing something fairly immediately with the 5K thing. Now, the 5K thing, if indeed after you've punched in, say to 4K, if you're doing some reframing in a 4K timeline, or if indeed if you're at lower resolutions and you're going to punch in further, then maybe in those instances the 5K is where you're going to feel it. Although that said, you know, if you say shot 5K on a Red and shot 5K on a GoPro, at 5K watching on a certain type of screen, like let's just say a not professional screen, you probably look at both and go, yeah, you know, the GoPro does look all right, doesn't it? It's never going to look like a Red. But the thing is, what you're going to notice with cameras like a GoPro or a phone or stuff like that at their highest resolutions, as in 5K, don't forget some phones now are doing 8K. When you start, like, you know, punching in or zooming in or expanding the frame to be viewed at a lower resolution, so let's just say you do not go beyond the optical equivalent as you start expanding into a lower res timeline, You are never going to get the same results as you would do with something like a Blackmagic or a Red or a high-end Sony. So a proper video camera, if actually indeed, even my AX100 is way better when you start going in on the pixels. And my AX100 is an old camera. It's only got a 1-inch sensor. So the thing with this, like, you know, shooting much higher resolutions and then having the ability to like manipulate at lower resolutions and maintain optical resolution, I would say you have to be very careful about what your expectations are going to be for that with the 9, because as soon as you start going in, you're not going to get what you think you should be getting with that. Now, something that has shocked me, because I did expect this not to be what it is when you're shooting at 5K on the 9, it would appear it is no higher bitrate than what 4K is on the 8, and already 4K on the 8 isn't high enough. We start seeing macro blocking and stuff like that, although that actually could be something to do with block size and when it does the actual encoding. But nonetheless, GoPros are not necessarily known for translating their quality further through like the production channel. So once you start doing like subsequent transcodes or re-encodes like YouTube does, you start seeing macro blocking quite easily, especially in like, you know, shaded areas with the GoPro. That is one or two things, or probably a combination. Low bitrate to start off with, so the further down you start manipulating these things, you start hammering and like going from one destructive codec to another destructive codec. And it's also the block sizes as well in the encoding, so it might just be large block sizing and stuff like that to start off with. Still got to look a little bit into that, but nonetheless, the 9 in 5K is no higher bitrate than the 8, which already isn't a high bitrate at 4K. So we're not getting any gain there, and really we should be. That 9 should be doing at the very least 120 to 150 megabits per second, and especially once it goes up to its highest frame rate. Now granted, it won't do like 59.94, but it'll do 29.97. But even at that, whatever the bit rate is that it's doing, it's not good enough. I'm not going to start slagging things off here and going mental, but it just isn't good enough basically. So that is a bit of a shock. Sorry, I've come out for my coffee. It's in a flask type thing and it's already going cold. It's because I talk too much. Right, so the other thing here as well, which I think was a little bit noticeable for me, was the microphone on the 9. Now, I've got to put them side by side, and I don't know if I'd already have done my first vlog just yet, but I've got to say, I hate the mics on the GoPros. Now, it might just be wishful thinking on my part, but I'm not saying it's great, but I think the front mic on the 9 is actually okay. Like, in an environment like, you know, here, maybe not with the reflections off the walls behind me here, no sound bouncing back, but in an open space, I think it's okay. I was actually quite surprised with some of the stuff that I did in my first vlog with it, which was purposefully done with the internal mic. Let me see me time here. Right, with me internal mic on the 9, I didn't hate it. Let's put it that way. And I think for a lot of people, they will like it. Now, I'm not saying it's great or nothing like that, but in some of the open spaces that I went to, it was quite nice. And what it did purposefully as well with that video, I don't know if it's gone up before this one or if it'll come up after this one, but if you listen to that one, all I did with the audio once I got into post was just bring it all up, so every take was all raised up by the same amount, like with the master fader, just so it got closer to 0. So there was no dynamics processing with it and no EQ, nothing like that. So if you want a good listen to what I'm talking about, check out that video. There'll be links probably here in the description or something, but just look through me most recent videos. But yeah, it is not terrible, I'll give it that. So that is one difference between the pair of them. I'll have to go back and do a direct comparison obviously with these things and see what it's all about anyway. Now, there's probably a bunch of other things I could go on about here just on my initial findings, but I've only got 11% left on the battery. I best flash through this to the last point. Now, if you're thinking about like doing stuff, you know, like media mod wise and all the rest of it, and if you think that the media mod has gotten better with the internal microphones, I've not gone too much into it, but no, you won't be dead happy with that either. So if you're getting it for external microphones, yes, of course you have to have the media mod, but straight off bat, I've got to say, it just sounds like the same type of garbage microphone system, which I don't know, I will put them up against one another, the internal mic off the 9 and obviously the Media Mod 9 microphone and stuff. One good thing about that though is GoPro have stopped using the term shotgun microphone. They don't mention shotgun microphone anywhere within the literature, I don't think, or not that I've seen, and they most certainly don't call it that on the website like they did do with the Hero 8. And there's a few things as well about that Media Mod, if anyone's seen, you know, the look of it and the little like foam thing on it and stuff like that. I'm definitely doing a coffee with David maybe tomorrow with that one, because yes, as far, well, cat out the bag, I think GoPro stole my friggin' idea. Anyways, yeah, I mean, by the way, I'm not getting bent out of shape about that, but I think definitely GoPro have seen my videos. They must have done, and I take it as a compliment if they have ripped me off with that. The only thing that they didn't do, and I'm going to go into this in the coffee with David that I do about it, is they've done sod all with the microphones. So they've decided to rip off my idea with the phone thing on the front, but they've not took on my idea to go and ask Rode to give them a hand and put a proper mic in it. Blech. Anyway, yeah, battery's running really low here. Okay, so hopefully, anyway, John and anybody else who's come across this, hopefully this has been insightful for you, give you a few hints. Would I recommend upgrading from the 9 to the 8 for these scenarios like vlogging and day-to-day stuff? Absolutely not, I wouldn't. That might change if certain things change within the Hero 9. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say me little end piece right now, but I might cut back in here if I get enough battery tanks. I just thought of one other thing. Just quickly, I've got to squeeze this in. The front-facing screen on the 9 as well. Did you think that was going to be the best opportunity for an upgrade and something to jump into? No, I don't think so. The front display on it, next to useless. It's definitely okay for framing, sort of, but when you're at the higher like resolutions, it's all jerky and stuff. It doesn't refresh fast enough and all the rest of it. So if somebody was like mad enough to get the display mod and then they thought, oh, do we really need that when I've got the 9? If the point of the display mod is to get the best framing opportunities that you can, then yes, the display mod would be better than the front-facing screen on the Hero 9. The Hero 9 front-facing screen is something that I just don't understand what the point of it is, because it is not showing you enough stuff to warrant being there as far as I'm concerned. Now that's just like maybe I'm some Luddite who doesn't want a front-facing screen, and that's fine, but I would totally have expected it to have had the right frame rates and stuff, especially when moving or you're moving and things like that. It just doesn't seem right. That might get upgraded in the future. It might get fixed with the software thing. I don't know. This is definitely going to run out now. Oh, I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.